Book 2, welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and I decided I'm going to film a bookish update because I finally can. Like I said, we got a new little puppy, and I love taking care of him, but he's a lot of work, and I was working all this week, so on the 2 days that I've had off so far, I've been babysitting the little guy and making sure he doesn't have any accidents in the house because, my mom works, or she was out, and then, and for a while she was also out of town visiting my sister for a few days. And then my dad, he has his own thing, so I haven't really gotten a chance to film. And I've said in the past, I don't like to film on days I'm working because, I can't take my time with it. I feel like I have to rush. I mean, I guess I could, try filming tags and, like, the 7 Sunday stuff if I can, So, unfortunately, also, because I'm, watching our little Murphy and working a lot, I haven't read as much, so I'm probably not gonna the only books I'm gonna have done are The Idiot and, The Way of Edan, which is fine, It's, but, it would have been nice if I could have had something else finished, but that's okay. I am still working on Shadow of Night. I've been bringing that with me to work, and unfortunately, since the Edan book, the sequel to The Way of Edan, The Prophet of Edan, is on my Kindle, I don't want to bring this with me to work because I have to keep my work lunch bag in the refrigerator at work. So I don't want to, I don't know what that would do to this thing. So I bring a regular book with me to work. And I've got pretty into it. Like, there in the Elizabeth, I'm almost done with this chapter. I only have 2 pages left. I'm on, like, so I'm on chapter 12. I'm almost done with chapter 12. So I just finished watching Grimm, so I had the name Nick on my mind. Matthew and Diana, which is also a character named Diana on Grimm. Matthew and Diana travel back to the Elizabethan era. And of course, Diana is exposed because, yes, there were, as a witch, but they look at it as more like, oh, she's working with the devil or something, so they have to go into hiding, and still they have to find a witch to teach her, to help her gain control of her magic, so they are able to go to Philippe, Matthew's quote-unquote father, and of course, he, just like Yasbo, I still don't know how to say her name, he does not trust Diana, and he thinks Matthew's crazy for falling in love with a witch, and she kind of has to prove herself to Philippe, prove that she's worthy of his family, even though she's a witch and not a vampire, and of course, this is the Elizabethan era, so Philippe is very old-fashioned, and is like, he wants them to actually have a ceremony and get married before they do anything. So yes, there are similarities to Edward Cullen with Matthew, but you know what? I like Twilight and I like this. But I'm a lot older, so I'm aware of the problematic elements of Twilight. And they just got married. So that's as far as I am right now. Because like I said, this one is going a little bit slower because I've been prioritizing the Prophet of Edan in this. And with that one, I'm on let me see if I can. Chapter 10. I'm in the middle of chapter 10 of this one. And the shit has hit the fan, basically, and a lot of stuff is going down. It looks like high priest Beld Bledla Bledla and Eric Conwald are there. They have defeat. It looks like they're winning, basically. It's so funny that in my head I can say the names and they sound great in my head, but when I actually say them out loud, I stumble on the words. You know, it's funny how that like it sounds great in my imagination, but then when I try to say it, but and so they're trying to figure out a way to defeat them and prepare and help Dayraven become figure out how to harness his powers and get the control of the origin and the Song of Origins. That's what they call it. Again, as I said last time, the words and the language and the songs, it's hard to to pronounce them. Like, forget how you're supposed to say them. Like, I think if you worry about that kind of stuff, then audiobook could. If Philip Chase has an audiobook for this, that might help. I think he does. I think he narrates his own audiobook. I don't know though. I don't know for sure. But when I'm done with I don't know if I'm gonna wait until I finish the whole trilogy or now I might try to find a video that has nothing that doesn't spoil the rest of the other two books and watch a YouTube video where maybe Philip Chase talks about it, or like I said, I might just wait so I don't have to worry about the risk and just wait until I finish the whole trilogy. But after I'm done filming, I'm probably gonna get some reading done then, because like my dad's taking a nap and so is Murphy, so I might get some reading done then. Although that might mean I have to stay inside, because if I go outside, then Murphy will follow me, which wouldn't be a bad thing, but then I would feel like I have to watch him. So, and when I want to read, I don't have to worry about anything else. So, that's really, as far as reading, that's what's going. That's really what I got. All I gotta say. Not like I said, it's been a slow process right now. Normally, if we didn't, if it wasn't working so much and we hadn't got a new puppy, then I probably would be reading a lot more. But you know what? It's worth it, because the working thing is. I am, the working thing I have mixed feelings about, because I'm glad I'm glad I don't have any serious problems with my job, but I wish I had more time to read and wasn't working so much, but I do, but I'm getting the money, and then I'm happy. I'm so happy we got a new puppy. It's just he's a handful, and he gets on into a lot of stuff and eats a lot of stuff that he shouldn't. And we're on the puppy stage of having to try and teach him to go to the bathroom outside and not go to the bathroom inside. That's always hard. And I guess, they say that beagles are the hardest ones to train, but now that I think about it, Murphy's just as hard, and I think it doesn't matter. Any puppy is going to be hard to potty train and to get them to learn to ask to go outside to go to the bathroom, and then to hold chewing on making sure they don't chew the things that they shouldn't chew and all of that, and sure they don't eat what they shouldn't eat. But yeah, so and so I'm fine. It's okay. I still kind of wish I had more time to read. Like, and right now I will read after I'm done filming this. But it's just, it is stressful, but it's a good kind of stress, because like I said, we finally got a new puppy, and I've been waiting for that. I've been wanting a new dog because it's lonely, and when it's just me and my parents are gone for a period of time, it's nice to have a companion, even if he can't talk to me like a human can, he's still company. I can snuggle up with him, and it's just his presence. It was very hard on me. I didn't want my parents to go anywhere without me. I was fine if they go to our friends, our family friend's house, if they go, because I don't, I'm not a big fan of going, because Um, so yeah, stuff like that, just for the night, I'm okay. But I didn't want them to go on a vacation without me because I didn't want to be alone in the house for a long period of time. So, and it's also kind of hard when my dad, has his activities, so I am so happy that we have a little furry, loving puppy that I can snuggle with again. Although my mom said he doesn't like he's not like into the warmth like Rascal was. Rascal likes being right up in your space in the warmth of your body and under the covers, and this guy doesn't, and Murphy does not like that. According to my mom, he's not that. I mean, he's loves to snuggle, I think, but not like he doesn't want to be too warm. He likes the cool. Like he'll lay on the vents. He likes laying on the vents. But anyway, so let me give you when I talk about Grimm. So Grimm is so great, and I didn't remember because it came out around the time that Once Upon a Time came out. So I was watching them at the same time, which is funny because they both were fairy tales, and I think at the time a lot of fairy tales were coming around, not just as TV shows, but in book form too. So, but Grimm only had 6 seasons, while Once Upon a Time lasted a couple seasons longer. And Grimm, it was just that one was a little. It was. I mean, it still had its drama, soap opera drama. There was still crazy shit happening, but it wasn't as, I don't know. It was a reprieve from all the drama of Once Upon a Time. And I also still had it when I gave up on Once Upon a Time because I didn't like where the show was going. So I had Grimm, and I didn't remember, but I didn't remember a lot of the stuff. But as I was telling Terry, we were talking about it because we both loved Grimm. It was kind of like it was all starting to come back as I was watching it. Like I barely remembered the last season. But I remember certain things, and it's just it all didn't really fully come back until I started watching the show. But it's such a cool show if you've never watched it. You can watch it on Amazon, and it might be on Netflix. I don't know, which we just got back, so I'm happy about that. That now we have Netflix again. But it's a show about they take the idea of Grimm, the Grimm brothers, but instead it's a title of a person that slays these beasts and these creatures. So it takes the fairy tale creatures and focuses on them, like the wolf, or the 3 little pigs, or the little mouse, or the crones, the evil wicked crones and wicked witches, and the bears, and all the different animals from different fairy tales, and they kind of take all these different mythologies as well. So they kind of do something similar to other shows like Supernatural, with all their creatures and stuff and all the demons. And it's like Nick Burkhart is the main character. He's a police officer or a police detective, and his parents died when he was little. So when he was, well, actually not that little, when he's like a preteen, I think, when he's like 12, and he's raised by his aunt. And then as an adult, he's like I said, police detective. He's lives with his girlfriend Juliet, who's a veterinarian. The show starts with him wanting to propose to her, and then he finds out when his aunt visits him that he is what is known as a Grimm. Like I said, they're kind of like hunters, and they kill all these creatures and beasts and stuff. And although the creatures are called Wesen, so there's a heavy Germanness to the show, lots of German terms, and but of course fairy tales come from all over. Every country has their own versions of fairy tales. With actually, I guess the US doesn't really have, because we're not that old. Like, all the fairy tales come from all over the world except for the US, and they all just conjugate here in the US. And so we don't just get German folklore, we also get like Japanese folklore, African folklore, um, Chinese folklore, all these different, Russian folklore, all these different, all these countries. And so and he makes friends with his one ally in the beginning of the first part of the series because, of course, he can't tell anyone. He can't tell Juliet or anyone that he's a Grimm and about this world because, of course, they might not be able to handle it or might just think he's crazy or something. And so he tells his one friend, or one person that can help him, is one of his neighbors, this guy named Monroe, who is a blue bot, which is basically a wolf. And he knows about this world, so he ends up being the one that Nick goes to for help until eventually he's able to tell each of the people in his life. And there's the first one has the whole traditional creature of the week scenario conflict. I feel like that's what a lot of fantasy shows do. They kind of have a way to build the world and introduce us to the characters. They have the conflict of the week, which is they'll have whatever the show, in the case of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, there was the vampire problem of the week, and with Charmed it was the demon of the week. With Supernatural it was also demons but other monsters, and so with the first season of Grimm, it's all the creatures, all the mythical, the Vesson. It was always the Vesson of the week conflict. And they also was really cool. It was a show that also explored some of the important social issues that we deal with today. They kind of deal with it, but in a fantasy setting. And one of the actors I remember saying that they thought it was really cool that they can do that. And they were saying how a lot of fantasy shows can do that, where fantasy can tackle these issues without being they approach it in a more metaphorical way. Without, address the issues without being very this is how it is, this is the issue, and this is what you need to do, being all judgmental about it. I feel fantasy shows allow you not to be so judgmental and see both sides of an issue, because you're looking at through a different, unique lens. And Grimm is one of those shows that does that. So I just finished it. This afternoon, because I've said this before, that when I finish something I've been watching for a long time or reading for a long time, I always get weird. It always feels weird when I finish it, mixture of shock or in a bit of an excitement high feeling, so I don't like to finish things right before I go to bed, because then I'm not going to be able to sleep for a while. I'm going to be thinking about that book or that show or that movie, that movie franchise. I'm going to be constantly thinking about it. My mom's going to be running until it's exhausted, which could take hours. And especially, I got to go back to work tomorrow, so I don't want to be tired tomorrow. I don't want to take forever to fall asleep tomorrow. So, I just finished it this afternoon. Even though it's not a good show, the problem with fantasy shows is a lot of times they have a lot of scenes that are kind of in the dark. So so sometimes when I watch a show during the day when there's lots of sun, it kind of makes it hard to see what's going on in the episode. Granted, yeah, as long as you have good lighting, that can help. You still can see what's going on, but it's still not 100% clear. Watching something where it's already dark and the light is a little less powerful, then yeah, it makes it, it's easier to watch, one of those shows with a lot of dark scenes when in the evening hours. But anyway, it was great, and the finale was awesome. Although the ending, I was a little confused by the ending. I mean, it ends in a positive way, but I was confused with where it went, with what just happened. So I'll probably have to talk to Terry about that. So I'm still kind of thinking about my TBR for October. I'll probably still be reading these 2 books unless I can get, the way of The Prophet of Edan, but I'll still be reading. I'll be reading book 3 because, like I said, I want to get those done because I don't know if I'm going to keep Kindle Unlimited. So, and I only got 3 months, and I want to do it I want to do it before November. So, I won't, But anyway, so like I'm kind of still like, this is a problem. Like, I give myself so many options because I keep thinking about all the books I want to read. Because there's all of a sudden certain books that I have my eye on. There's also books like that I started a while back and I need to finish it. I'm gonna show you all the books that I'm thinking about. Like, I kind of narrowed it down a little bit. So there's still gonna be, these books are still gonna be on my TBR from my autumn, or books I want to read in autumn, that video. A lot of these books are still going to be on that list, but I did narrow it down. So first, I'm thinking about reading Babel by R.F. Kuang because I just finished this summer, the her Poppy War trilogy, and then I do want to check. I'm thinking about reading Yellowface. But I don't know yet. If it's not too long of a book, I haven't ever seen the physical copy of the book. I mean, I could probably find it on Kindle if I wanted to, and just read it there. But I might at some point start going to the library again. So if I see it there, I might look at it and debate about getting it and see if I get it, because this one I definitely would probably not get from the library because it's a bit of a chunky book. But this one deals with translation and colonialism, and it definitely has some mixed opinions. Here's Yellowface, by the way. Here's the cover for Yellowface. Although most people that are watching probably have seen it. So it's like this. I think this guy gets accepted at this special school or something. This kid. Oh, and it's in the 1800s. Robin. After his parents are killed by cholera, he's brought to London by this professor, and he's trained in all this ancient lore, and he goes to this, I'm looking at the back here, Oxford University's an institution for translation known as Babel. So I wonder if it's kind of like an alternate history or something, or like a fantasy. I mean, there is, and also, like, there's a little magic, but not a lot, I think. But I really want to read this one, because, and I want to pick it up soon. I mean, and it's one of these ones where I just bought it recent, so I'm like, I want to pick it up. But then I always like, okay, let me work on these books first because I've had them longer, or, oh, I need to finish the books I'm currently reading before I pick up another one. And that's usually what happens. Like, I buy a book and all of a sudden, like, that's the book I want to read, but I'm like, no, I don't. I want to get these other books finished or read books that I've been sitting on my shelf for a long time. So I wait and procrastinate it. So, and then eventually it's sitting and then it ends up sitting on my shelf for years at a time. So at the moment, I really want to read this one. So I don't know a lot about this one, but this is the short story, The Ghost Stories of Edith Wharton. So these are short stories. And what I was thinking about doing was like filming a video where I read some of these, but I don't know how long they are. And I would want to pre-film it also. I mean, what I could do is just go ahead and do it, just film it, and then see what happens. Or maybe film it in parts. I could do that. But yeah, I think that would be really cool. Because I'm not someone, of course I'm not someone who does skits or anything like that. But, and I remember that one series, I can't remember what it's called. But I remember I filmed myself reading a book with, the really scary tales. I can't think of what it's called. And I remember doing that, but I messed that up because I know there was like one of the stories that I was reading to you required something of a little bit of a scare people moment, scare the listeners kind of moment. The person you were reading the story to. Oh, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. That's what it was called. That collection. Which came out I think that came out in the 90s, and I attempted to film that, but I think I totally messed it up, though, like I said, because it required, like a jump scare for the people listening to you read it, and I did a bad job with that, so I don't think this would have that, though. But it's something that I could do, something fun I could do for you guys, and just, I think, as something, because I feel like it's something I can do, because I'm not like, I don't do skits or anything like that, and I it's kind of, and this is the perfect time of year for reading stories to people, so that is Scary Stories, the ghost stories of Edith Wharton. Let's see, the stories that are in this collection are the Lady's Maid, the Lady's Maid's Bell, The Eyes, Afterward, Kerful, The Triumphant Night, Miss Mary Pask, Bewitched, Mr. Jones, Pomegranate Seed, The Looking Glass, All Souls, and an autobiographical postscript. That might not be story. That last one. Oh, okay. So it's actually from that last one. An autobiographical postscript is from her autobiography, A Backwards Glance, like an excerpt from it. So that one doesn't count. But I'm gonna read this because this might be more like, I liked her work so far when I read it, and I like her writing, but so far they're not my favorites. I mean, I still actually have The Age of Innocence, so I could keep it if I wanted to. But, yeah, it did get published, A Backward Glance. And I have The Custom of the Country. I ended up getting rid of, I think I got rid of Ethan Frome. House of Mirth was, again, okay. Madame Tremés and other four novelettes. That was in the one collection from the library. The Reef, Roman Fever, and Other Stories. So because I am definitely one of those people who prefers like a really plot that where something really crazy or fun is happening, but not like everyday life kind of stories. I'm just not into that. But I do like, watching booktubers talk about those kinds of stories. So, and those are only in, like I said, they're not long. It's not a whole novel, so it wouldn't take me as long. And the same with the Canterville Ghost in the collection of Oscar Wilde. So I might read that one. That might come. I mean, who knows? I might save that for November, even though it's, about a ghost living with the family. I might still save that for November. So then we have, I don't know if I'll read this, but in Anglo-Saxon Attitudes by Angus Wilson. And this one, let me see if I can explain it better than last time. This is about a guy who, this old man he's living with the guilt of a discovery from back when he was an archaeologist as a young man that could change the world, basically. And he's a self-proclaimed failure. So it turned up an obscene idol in the coffin of a 7th century bishop, scandalized a generation. And it was a hoax of the century. And he knows who was responsible and why. And that just sounded the premise of that sounded really interesting. This was one I think I got at the roast office, actually. Because that their classics there, it's small, and it varies, and of course it has a lot of mass market copies. So I'm not into collecting those anymore, but this is one I've been meaning to. This is another one that I really wanted to read. All of these I want to read. That's the problem. It was just hard enough to narrow it down. Okay, so next one is the second book in a series. Bernard Cornwell's The Pale Horseman. This is the second in the Saxon series, and I think there's 13 books, because I think Jennifer Brooks was just talking about the series in her video of favorite books and series. So I enjoyed the first one. I thought the first one I liked the story and the premise about this guy Uhtred, who he's a I think, was he a Viking or I don't know I can't remember if he was a Viking or a Saxon. Or was he raised by Vikings or Saxon? I cannot remember which one. And he's raised by his family's enemy. They kidnap him and hold him as one of their own. And at the time, the Christian king was taking over their country, or their world. So they're at war with the Christian king. And putting Uhtred kind of in the middle of this, because he's still loyal to his family, who I think they would support the Christian king, I think. And he's become attached and formed a bond with the people who took him, and who actually treat him as one of them. So, and like I've said before, I don't want series to fall on the wayside. I'm trying to fix that problem and remember to actually finish some of these series. Like this year so far, I've finished a couple of my trilogies. Because it's the easiest, because it's only 3 books. I have no excuse. And I almost finished a 4-book series, and that was the Rift War saga, but then I opted to get out of it. I stopped reading it because I just wasn't as excited to read it. Like I started it, and some of it, like the main pug and his friend, their parts were a little hard to read and kind of not as fun to read. I didn't get very far, and here's my only hesitancy was there were some interesting parts, but I just wasn't feeling it and wanting to read it. I wasn't excited to read it, and if I'm not excited to read something, then I feel like I could take that as a sign of dropping it, that I don't want to continue. So, but I do want to continue this. So I want to jump into this now. Like I said, I keep thinking, I should pick these up now, right this minute, after I've filmed, but like I said, I gotta finish The Prophet of Edan and Shadow of Night. So there's that one. And then we have So this is one where I almost gave up on the series, opted not to read the trilogy, but then Murphy Napier did a video on it, and I haven't watched the video of the whole trilogy, her talking about the whole trilogy, but she really liked it and made me get more inspired to read it again and to really get into it again. Because, I mean, I love the show that was adapted from it. Now, I know, of course, there are differences, but I want to give this another shot and try it again because, you know, and that is the Magician's trilogy. It's kind of like I love the blurb that George R. That's given on here from George R. Martin. The Magicians is Harry Potter as a shot of whiskey is to the glass of weak tea. Hogwarts was never like this. I personally love that blurb from George R. Martin. Which that was in a book that was on that video that I talked about that I want to read, but I decided to save that for November. But like what's interesting is the first part of it kind of breezes through the early stuff for when our main character Quentin, after Quentin, we breeze through the first part of school with Quentin, the main character, all the school stuff. So at the time, I just wasn't feeling it, and I figured, oh, I'm not interested. But then, you know, sometimes books that I think I'm gonna DNF, I guess that, like I said, I guess I would consider it a soft DNF. But at the time, the only reason I don't consider it a soft DNF because at the time I was like, I don't plan on coming back to it. I decided I'm opted out of it. But after some time, I was hesitant. And then, like I said, Murphy Napier did a video talking about how much she loved it and how much fun she had with it. And I don't mind, you know, I know that there's criticism and stuff, but sometimes when a book has a lot, you know, characters that, like, annoy you, or characters that are being dumb, or, like, characters that are really messed up and complicated, those make the most interesting characters, I think. And the most entertaining ones. But, so, I'm thinking about this one as well. And then we have so this is another situation where I decided to walk away from the author in this particular book at one point, but I've opted to give it another shot, and particularly, actually, it was also inspired by Jennifer Brooks. And that is Anne Rice's The Witching Hour. So this is a trilogy, but this one I wouldn't get through this one as fast. But I'm thinking about getting back into this one because I did start reading. This was one of the books I brought with me to Lake Lore. And I loved Anne Rice's writing and the world building and everything and all the history. Like, I like books that really explore the mythology and history of their world. And you get, like, real deep dives. Like, I know that there are some people who don't like, I think depending on how it's done and the characters that are giving us information, like, I prefer the more, like, I don't like the info dumps, like, in A Deadly Education. I didn't enjoy that because, you know, I didn't like the way it was given to us, in the way the main character, I couldn't connect with her. She was kind of, I just didn't connect with her. She kind of bothered me and irritated me with her personality and her attitude. And I get it, yeah, her attitude probably is understandable. And, like, she's angry at the world and everything, and the world was treated her like crap and thinks she's evil and everything. And I get that, yeah. So I'm not saying that her attitude isn't justifiable. It's just, it just, you know, grind my gears a little bit. It made me roll my eyes. And maybe it's because I'm just a happy person and I have a good life. I'm very fortunate. And sometimes people that have a bad attitude are just angry all the time and, you know, like, act all tough and act like, oh, I don't want any friends and I'm all badass and, like, I'm, you know, having, you know, those kind of people, like, I just don't connect with them and they drive me crazy, and it's probably because I can't relate to those kinds of people, and, you know, I have no problem reading about characters that I relate to, but that I don't relate to, I'm fine with that, but, like, I also want to and not mind being in their head and hanging out with them. Like, you know, the Gotham character, you know, the Batman characters are very intriguing, although I don't know if I would actually want to hang out with them on a regular basis. Like, I would be terrified to hang out with Joker. I would worry he would make me insane, get inside my head, or do his Joker gas on me and make me completely crazy. Or kill me because I'm laughing so hard because I'm losing my mind. I don't know if I don't not want to hang out with him. Like, anytime one time was, but, so yeah, a Deadly Education, the main character, I just couldn't stand her. So, but, like, Quentin doesn't bother me as much, or at least on the show he didn't. He doesn't bother me. But anyway, so, like I said, I have no idea why I brought that up. But anyway, so yeah, I know Quentin has some issues and people that just don't like him, but I don't mind reading. So with this one, The Witching Hour, like I said, this was very much inspired by Jennifer Brooks. Again, and I started reading, and I love her writing style and the world building. Oh, that's why I brought that up, because because in a way she does a lot of world building throughout the book, throughout Deadly Education. Lots of info dumps. But the way that this one is done, it feels a little more natural because a main character, is reading this information and not being just told and be like, this is what you need to do, or this is what it's like, or, oh, this is how it is at our school, this is how things are done, and yeah, and if you want to do this, you have to be this. And while this one, he's reading the information, and so it's just done in a way that I can appreciate, that I can enjoy, and put myself in the character's place. And also it's just giving, and then there's stuff that's giving background information on the characters, as well. But yeah, so I absolutely love this, and I want to read. I enjoyed it. It's just I wasn't sure about how I felt about the ending, because I spoiled myself and read the last page. So I kind of think I have an idea of what's gonna happen. But I think, like I said, I think it'll be easier since I'm a little more aware. And I still love the story. It was just a long one at the time to read a book that I wasn't sure how I felt about it. Okay, so next, sorry, when I'm moving around the book and stuff and just not looking at the camera all the time, that means I'm starting to feel tired. And then we have, oh crap, that fell out. So this is a nonfiction, actually. I have 2 nonfictions here, and they're not super long, and that's In the Search of Mary Shelley. So this was by Fiona Simpson. Again, inspired by, this purchase was inspired by Jennifer Brooks. So, as you can see, a lot of the books I buy were inspired by specific booktubers. So this is a biography on Mary Shelley, the one who wrote Frankenstein, and Frankenstein is one of my favorite books. And like I said, even though I never saw any movie about Frankenstein or anything like that, I never saw any of those pop culture movies, I still feel a little on the, protective side of the original story, and knowing that it was turning this comedic thing, that the creature is either a monster or something silly. I did actually attempt to watch The Young Frankenstein by Mel Brooks, and it was okay, but anyway, so this came in the book, actually, so I think this is really cool. And So I'm guessing I'm wondering if maybe the person bought this somewhere in like a museum or something. And about famous writers, and this was there. Maybe this book was there with this. Because it says, on the back, it says the National Portrait Gallery. So that's really cool. I mean, I bet Jennifer Books would really think this was cool if this came in the book. But I'm gonna put this up here along with, because I also have a little piece of paper that's, I don't know if it's a review, I don't remember, on War and Peace, or was it? No, Anna Karenina. My first copy of Anna Karenina, which was a small mass market. Although I'm glad that I, switched it out, because, but anyway, so there's not really much to talk about with this one. It's just about Mary Shelley. I don't know where it, I guess it's just, like I said, it's a biography about her life. And probably talks about her marriage to Percy Shelley, and, probably talks about her mom as well, who is also a writer. Okay, and then we have The Alloy of Law. This is the first book in the Mistborn era too. Again, I started this, and I figured, it's a fantasy book that's not super long, and I want to get started on it at this series. So this is the first book, and I did read the first chapter in the prologue, so I'm obviously on chapter 2, but I might start rereading it again. But, because it's been so long, it's been quite a few months since I first attempted reading this. And not that, when I mean that, and when I say that, I don't mean like I didn't love it or I was bored or anything. It was just, there were other books that came into my brain at the time. So, this is like sometime like 200, or 300, 400 years in the future, or, not so far back, but it's during like the setting is inspired by the Old West, and they have guns and stuff like that. So if you're an Allomancer or anything like that, that was a pretty interesting approach to Allomancy and everything like that. So like I said, I can't really much want to talk about this. I don't have a lot to say, because, like I said, it's been a long time since I've read the prologue of the first chapter. We have our main characters, Wax and Wayne. And I know a lot of people don't love this one as much as the original era. But I kind of like when Old West stories are told in... I like some Old West stories. But, like, I don't know how I feel about the actual stories that take place in the Old West. But, like I loved... Back to the Future Part 3 and Westworld. I thought that was really cool. But, so I'll probably like this better than most people, so there's that one. And then we have, this is one of the ones that I started and I haven't continued and I need to finish it. This is The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco. This is a bit of a mystery story. And as I've said when I've talked about this before, I really like how this takes place at an abbey. And our main characters are monks, and it's kind of the mystery is, did this monk commit suicide or did someone murder him? And the idea of like he's found out some information that maybe he shouldn't have found out about. But it's so far, it was really good. It's just, it's a slow book. But I am really liking it. I just, so I need to pick it up again and finish it, because and find out what happened, find out the mystery and what was revealed that the monk should not have found out about. Okay, so these last set of 4 books are for Victober. I don't know which ones I'm going to focus on, though. But one of them is the other nonfiction that I have here, and that is London Labor and London Poor. So going by the title, it's like you have Mayhew kind of looks at the people, the people that live on the streets, and the rich and the poor of London, of Victorian London. And he's a journalist, and I just think it would be perfect to read something like this, especially going on with where how we're going to London coming up soon. So I figure, why don't I read this? And I have another book that's the English Civil War. It's either English or the British Civil War, but it's basically when America broke from England and became America. And so I should say when the colonies broke from England, and what happened with England and how they fell apart and what led up to that. So it's England's perspective from the whole what we consider today the American Revolution. It's what was going on with them. But that one's going to take a lot more time, so I'm going to focus on this one because it's not as long. So next we have The Tenant of Wildfell Hall, which is about this woman who, with her son, she leaves her abusive husband, comes to this town and stays at Wildfell Hall, and you have this guy named Gilbert Markham. He ends up meeting this woman, and I think he's gonna fall in love with her, and he's hearing all these rumors about her leaving her husband, which back then you weren't allowed to do. A woman could not do that. So this was kind of a critique on the British society and women, and how difficult it was for women. Like, even if a husband was abusive, it was not easy to leave him. She couldn't just ask for a divorce or leave him. So, which again, that is so messed up, because it just again shows the world, and men still have power. And I think this is definitely gonna be a heartbreaking read. It's also not a short read. I mean, not a short read, but it's not as long as some of the other books. Like, I was gonna read Dombey and Son, but I think I might save that and finish that back in November. Okay, so next is Lady Audley's Secret, which obviously you can see I started this one. So this guy finds out his cousin marries this mysterious woman that he doesn't know anything about, and something happens to cousin, so he assumes that Lady Audley is responsible because she's acting a little shifty. So she has some kind of secret, and he wants to know what it is. And every time I've heard people talk about this, they said the secret was not anything. It's not about hiding the secret itself. At least for them, it was more, just because you figure out the secret. It's more the fact that Lady Audley has this secret or something. But yeah, this was one of the ones I got from Black Castle, because it has a little price sticker on the top. But I'm going to, but with that one, and then The Tenant of Wildfell Hall, they're not as long, so I figure, maybe I should consider reading them first for Victober, because I'm reading other books that don't have to do with Victorian literature as well. But it's just so hard to narrow it down and pick out of these books. Okay, so this last one is a super long one, but it's not as long as the one, it's not, the Moonstone is shorter, actually. But The Woman in White. And for my note about this one, this is a bit of a mystery where this guy who's a tutor, um, um, excuse me, he's coming to stay and teach these young girls, and along the way, he meets this woman all dressed in white, and she's acting really weird and saying some strange things, and then she takes off, and these men show up, and they ask him, has they seen this woman, and it's the same one, and it's described as the same woman, and they're like, have you seen her? She has escaped from a mental institution. And I think he tells them no, he hasn't seen her. So there's a bit of a mystery involved, and and this is one of the ones that they say is perfect. I thought about doing the group read because of the way we live now, and join them for that, but that's a super long book, so I'm not gonna do the group read, which I didn't do that last year either. And I barely participated last year because I think I was kind of more focused on, I should look that up though. I should check that out. I was more focused on like spooky reads and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so there is that. The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. So those are the book I'm just kind of trying to think about and narrow down on what I want to read for October. It's just so hard to do that, to narrow it down and figure out which ones I want to read, which ones I want to focus on. Like, I keep thinking, when I'm not looking at the books, I'm thinking, oh, I should focus on this one, and this one, and this one. But then once I start looking at them again all the time, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I want to read this, and I want to read this, and I can't decide which ones I want to save. And even though my books, I can always be there. I can always come back to them. I can read them whenever I want, but, which one do I want to read in the moment? Which one do I want to prioritize to read now? Okay, so anyway, so that is how things are going right now towards the end of the month, end of September. October is coming soon in a few days. Actually, no, it's actually, I think tomorrow. The 1st of October is tomorrow. I think I'll have to double check on that. Yeah, today's the 30th. I don't know how many days are in September, but tomorrow might be October 1st. So, and I finished Grimm, so perfect timing, because I can watch spooky stuff. And then we got Netflix back, so my mom just ended up buying the thing. Although they'll probably raise the price on her again, and then she'll probably want to drop it. Which is so frustrating, because I'm not always in the mood to watch at the time, and then it's like, if I'm not watching it constantly, then she's going to think, oh, you're not interested in it. And I get it, she doesn't, it costs a lot of money, but anyway. So, I'm done with Grimm. I can focus on Max and Netflix and all the other, and Disney Plus and all that. But anyway, I hope you all had a great September, whether with, reading and not reading and doing other stuff. What are you currently reading right now? I would love to know. Are you someone who's going to read spooky stuff in September? Are you going to read October? Are you going to read spooky books in October? Are you going to read thrillers in October? Or are you going to read more cozy books in October? I would love to know what those books are. Or are you one of the people who participates in October? Would love to know. So if you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, click subscribe if you haven't already, click the bell notification below if you want to be notified about my latest videos. And I hope you guys are having a good day and enjoying your reading. Alright, bye!